Project Tzointykrator, a journey into speculative biology. Cosmology of the Anilasteron system. The Anilasteron is the heart of its system, a volatile red dwarf, constantly radiating with solar flares and cosmic fire. The first planet in its orbit is the small ferrite world of Sanguid, red like blood with iron dust which covers its surface, with high plateaus of white alkaline rock. 7 icy planets and innumerable asteroids and comets orbit around the outer rim of the system. In the middle of Anilasteron's neighborhood sits the star of the show, Tzointykrator, Life-Bearer. Thus begins the saga of life on the yellowy red little ball. Size graph of the heavenly bodies can be seen in the top right, and Tzointykrator and her mother star can be seen in the bottom left. Note that the size graph measures small to large in mass, not necessarily radius, and most certainly not in order of their orbit. That can be seen in the left of the screen, in the orbital graph. The Primordean era, 400 to 300 million years ago. The early Primordians saw the first multicellular life, as well as the first photosynthesizing rhodophyta, red algae. However, due to the solar flares, life was restricted to the undersea vents. By the Middle Primordian, 366 to 333 million years ago, the first plankton or microforms began to form, alongside the first nekton. By 350 million years ago, the split between the vermiote, worms, and pulmoniote, lungs, plankton, was formed, as well as the first nekton to evolve echolocation in the form of the sonariforms by the year 360. A split between the larger magnosonari and the smaller microsonari was seen just 10 million years later, as the larger hunted the smaller. And by the late Primordian, 333 to 300 million years ago, the vermiotes would split between stationary forms, staphylos, which would evolve into the red-colored plant-like creatures, and the mobile anime, or what would be in our timeline, on our world, the vertebrates. Algae would continue to fill the sea. Over 300 million years ago, the planet of Tzointykrator was barren and arid, inhospitable to all forms of life, all but for the depths of the seas, where the vents at the bottom of the ocean spewed out nutrients from the core of the planet itself. Small filter-feeding plankton such as vermiotes and pulmoniotes absorbed nutrients and were then eaten by the echolocating microsonari, which in turn were eaten by their larger relatives, the macrosonari. The red dwarf, which Tzointykrator orbits around, produces solar flares which made the surface too dangerous for life, keeping the living creatures of Tzointykrator limited to the murky depths. However, one form of life eked out a living at the surface, the first photosynthesizing red algae, whose red pigment would protect them from the near star's furious rays. Algae would at first be local, found only in small mats, however would eventually grow in turn to turn the very ocean itself red as blood, as algae blooms turned the ocean red with pigment throughout the next era of geological history. Soon, new strategies such as shells or hiding would bring what are now mere plankton, the vermiotes and pulmoniotes, to grow in size and begin to venture to the surface of the sea, all with the help of a new organ, eyes. Now begins the Ocularian era. In the top left you can see a close-up of a microform, or more generally a sonari. This subspecies does not have the frill as can be seen in the image below. The frill gathers sound, which is translated into the sonar melon, which is nearby their primitive brain, the first on the planet. Their respiratory system processes both blood, which is a simple substance at this time, and oxygen, as they oxygenate the water, which is then turned into blood. Gametes are produced above, which are dispersed in the gamete dispersal. Polyps, which float throughout the sea to find a nutrient-rich place to grow. They catch small plankton with their grabbing net, which is then sucked up into their grinding teeth, into their stomach, through their intestines to be digested, and diffused into the respiratory system above, all powered by a diaphragm, a hydraulic system, which causes imbalance in pressure to cause water to go in one way and out the other. To the right, you can see a close-up of the plankton, both vermiote or worm forms and pulmoniote or lung forms. The pulmoniotes have a diaphragm which pulsates, pumping water in and out of the central lung, which has filters used for both respiratory and digestive functions. The vermiotes, however, have a far more simple digestive system. a tongue to, in detail, grab things and pull them inside of the digestive system, alongside a central heart, which, through its pumping, creates a simple wriggling motion, like a maggot or baby mosquito. In the next episode, we will detail the next era of Tzointykrator's geological history, the origin of eyes, and the conquest of land. This has been Somber Whimsy, and thank you for watching.